Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I, Monmi Barwa, from the Education for Youth Empowerment area of the Environment Education Awareness Division at TERI, welcome all of you to the Youth Climate Conclave Bootcamp, which is a run up to the fifth edition of the YCC 2024 to 2025. The conclave is an initiative of the delegation of the European Union to India as a follow-up to the successful implementation of 4 editions of the Youth Climate Conclave. The boot camp is organized for youth to provide a learning environment to further hone their skills on issues related to climate change and also act as goodwill ambassadors and peer leaders to further spearhead the movement. The bootcamp has been integrated with the Green Diplomacy Week 2023, aiming to engage the youth on the theme moving towards just transition for a fair and inclusive world, where youth will be provided with knowledge about just transition, about climate change issues, and role of youth. Around 680 participants have registered for this bootcamp today. And we welcome you all. We welcome to all the participants and to our wonderful panelists here. So today the boot camp is graced by the presence of Mr. Bartos uh, Prisvara. He's the Councillor Energy, Climate Action, Environment Delegation of the European Union to India. Mr. Rajesh Kumar Jha, Country Environment and Sustainability Manager at ABB India. Dr. Livleen K. Kehlon, Associate Director at the Environment Education Awareness Division at TERI. Without further ado, I now request Dr. Livleen K. Kehlon to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Monmi. As already mentioned by Monmi, that we are about to start our deliberations, discussions, exchange of views in the youth boot camp. And for those, I'm first of all, I am sure that most of the youth participants who are with us today would have been engaged with the earlier editions of Youth Climate Conclave. So, for those who are new to the initiative, please wait for a couple of minutes because our presentations and discussions will tell you more about the Youth Climate Conclave. What I would like to mention here is, the timing of this boot camp is very, very critical and important to emphasize the need for climate action. The world is looking towards the outcomes of COP28, which has just been initiated in UAE. And incidentally, tomorrow, the start of the Green Education Zone at COP28 also gets initiated. So there are several case studies, projects which are being put up at COP regarding action from youth in sort of achieving pro environment results, community based action programs, green curriculum frameworks, a lot of other activities which are being done to sort of enthuse youth to take up this role as climate crusaders because without youth, we can hardly achieve anything. India, as you all know, is a mega diverse country in several aspects. And even if you look at the numbers, 27.3% of the overall population of India is the youth population. So, with such a strong inclination of numbers tilting towards the youth and early age groups, it is absolutely essential that we should involve with them, we should engage with them, we should tell them about climate change, and also pause to listen what are their views and perceptions about climate change. So, with all this, a lot of work has happened in the earlier editions of Youth Climate Conclave. I'm extremely grateful to European Union delegation to India who have supported this initiative since 2019, and we look forward to creating a bigger wave of change through this program. And today, what you see is sort of a curtain raiser to many more activities that will happen in the coming years. Here, because most of the students, youth who have joined us today are in the age group that is going to colleges, there is a very, very welcome change that has happened in higher education institutions. We now have a full 4 credit course on environment education. And within this credit course, climate change is one of the topics that is going to be taught at the UG level across the country. And again, there is a provision to have action projects at communities being judged and being assessed in these credit courses. So what I want to say is the environment is conducive. There are many players who are there to help you to know more about climate change, and we are there to handhold and guide you to creating a best environment situations. So with this, I we can move over to the next topic and the next part of the session, and over back to Monmi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Livleen, for your kind words and a warm welcome, and also giving us, a background of the role of youth. And moving on, no words would suffice to welcome Mr. Bartos Preswara. Mr. Bartos joined the European Commission Directorate General for Economic and Financial Affairs in 2004, where he was dealing with the coordination of fiscal policies within the Economic and Monetary Union, demographic projections, and healthcare economics. Starting from 2014, he was responsible for economic, financial, climate, and environmental issues at the European Union delegation to Russia. In 2018, he moved to the European Union delegation to Turkey as head of trade and economic section. As of 2023, he serves as Energy, Climate Action, and Environment Counselor at the European Union delegation to India. So thank you for supporting, YCCs in in more ways than one. And without any, further ado, I would request you to kindly deliver the special remarks. Over to you, sir.
Hello, good morning. I didn't know that you would read all my CV. And, fine, I would have made it a little bit shorter, but okay, thank you very much. No, good. So thanks a lot. Thank you very much for inviting me to this very important event, which is in fact organized by our good friends from TERI, which is an organization which shares with us the idea and is convinced, like us, that the principles of environmental protection, and climate action, and social progress, in fact, do not need to go against the economic growth and prosperity. And that investing in green transition not only doesn't prevent economic growth, but just on the contrary, supports and accelerates it. And I think that's a very, very important thing to focus at the very beginning. So yes, I'm as my predecessor said, we are now looking all at Dubai, and I'm sure that over the last weeks, days, months, you have heard a lot about the climate change mitigation, adaptation, loss and damage, and so on. And this is of course because of this big event that started just yesterday in Dubai, which is United Nations Framework Conference of Parties on Climate Change, or in short, COP28. And at this huge event, practically all countries of the world, but also countless institutions, non-governmental organizations, representatives of science, research, business, civil society, all of them will be represented. And they will all discuss about what needs to be done to save our planet from what we call the global warming. So the increase in the average temperature above 1.5 degrees Celsius as compared to the pre-industrial era, which, according to scientists, will have irreversible and irreparable consequences on the nature, on the environment, our ecosystems, but of course also our social lives and economies. So basically we know what is at stake and we know what needs to be done, but let's see what we are doing in reality. And let me concentrate mainly here in this initial statement on what we are doing in the European Union. So with all those alarming news in mind, over the last 3 decades, the European Union has been very active in reducing its own impact on the climate and providing help to other countries of the world. So we are making a very costly, sometimes very painful, but necessary and mostly successful progress towards decarbonization of our economy and our society. We have had several policies over those last 30 years. I don't want to go into details, but let me start from the. Let me mention that 2 years ago, the European Union, together with its member states, promised or committed, legally committed, that they will reduce their net greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55% by 2030, compared to 1990 levels. In fact, our estimates show that we are going to even overachieve this target, and we will cut emissions by 57%. Just think about it, 57% is more than half of what we have done only 30 years ago. So with such good progress, we will most probably, as we promised, become climate neutral by 2050. And by the way, we are also the world's largest provider of financial and technical support to the other countries in their own greening processes. So in one word, we are doing our own homework, and we are helping also the others to do it as well. So yes, we are successfully cutting emissions, but of course it is much easier to say than to do. But in fact, when we talk about decarbonization, we immediately think about installing the windmills and the solar power batteries, and that's it. But of course, yeah, it's true. It's very important. It's a very important component, but it's not the only thing. In fact, if we want to decarbonize well, sustainably, with a long-lasting effect, this process of change, this process of transition has to cover all sectors of our economy and all aspects of our lives. So it's not only about energy production, but also about industry, about manufacturing, transport, construction. It's even about agriculture. And very importantly, it's also about our individual daily lives and our individual daily behavior. So in order to put all those elements, all those pieces together, to give it a consistent framework, in Europe, we have set up a big strategy which encompasses all those sectors and all those aspects. And we call this strategy a Green Deal. I'm sure that you have heard a lot about it. So it's not an easy task, as I said, and both European industries and European citizens have contributed, and in fact, they are contributing until today to this joint effort. We have made carbon emissions much more costly for our industry through the emission trading system. And this system basically makes the polluters pay, but it also provides incentives for investment in new green technologies. So industry is paying, but the responsibility falls also on the consumers, on the citizens, and on the workers who, as a consequence of those changes, need to adopt completely new patterns of behavior. For example, we were used to buy, consume, and throw away very, very quickly, very easily, and it's not the case anymore. With the new circular economy principles, we have incentives to repair, to reuse, and to recycle, which is a big change in the daily lives. Another example is the limitation of the access of cars to the city centers. And I have seen it also here for some days because of the air pollution. But in Europe, it is a new normal in several countries. If your car is old, if your car does not meet the requirements, you cannot use it. That's it, full stop. So yeah, unfortunately, it costs money. And unfortunately, in some areas, the global warming and the actions which have to be undertaken to counteract it affect also directly the professional and private life of citizens. The best example here is the coal sector, which is by far the most polluting sector, both in terms of CO2, so the most important greenhouse gas, but also in terms of air, water pollution, and waste. If we want to decarbonize effectively, unfortunately, we must gradually, slowly, but we must phase out coal production and coal use. But of course, even like this, even if it is gradually, slowly, it will unfortunately affect lives of people who currently work in this industry. As I said, this process is very slow, not to affect individual lives from one day to another. And in Europe, we have followed the policy of gradually phasing out. We didn't fire people from one day to another. We let them retire and simply didn't employ the new generations of workers. And then slowly, we closed down the the factories and the coal mines. And in fact, it works. And I'm myself from such a region in Poland. I remember when I was a small kid, I remember this horrible pollution in the air, in the water. People had respiratory diseases. I was not allowed to drink tap water from the tap. So yeah, it was horrible. But then slowly everything changed, and now, in fact, my region is thriving, successful center of new green industry. We have a huge services sector. We have education sector. Of course, it costed time and money, but we succeeded. And this process, which I have just described, is exactly what we are discussing here. Sorry. No. Sorry. Excuse me. Somebody was. So this process, which I'm describing now, is exactly what we call the just transition. So why we are all here, what we are discussing. And this just transition is a process of transition from carbon intensive to carbon free economy or reality or life, which does not leave anybody, neither individual persons nor cities, regions, countries behind. And in the European Union, we have a special tool which is called just transition mechanism. And this mechanism represents our belief that it is better to give a person a fishing rod than to offer him a fish itself. That's why this program or mechanism is composed of two components. Of course, there is a financial and monetary help for families and individuals affected, but most or more importantly, it also includes the support or the subsidies which allow people to gain new skills and abilities or to find jobs in more prospective, future-oriented sectors. We offer people training in the green sectors, not only manufacturing, but also services, and very importantly, also in digital skills. Here in India, you have a very advanced, you are very advanced in digitalization, so that's normal for you. But in Europe, in some countries, we still have quite traditional ways to do things. So there is still a space to progress, but it changes quickly. And in fact, it offers a space for new jobs, new skills, new activities, exactly for those people who used to work in more traditional and more polluting sectors. So in fact, we have two processes, the green transition and digital transition going forward. And those two processes are at the benefit of everybody. The people who move from hard manual labor to easier, more healthy jobs, the industry and the economy, which becomes more competitive and with higher value added, and of course the entire planet, which can breathe cleaner air and hopefully will not warm up as fast as we have been predicting. And what is also very, very important is my last point. This very important element of this entire process is that as we move from predominantly manual industrial activities to more, let's say, intellectual work, it will also help a lot women to get more socially involved, to get new skills, to start new active professional life. So yeah, the very, very important element of this whole process that we are discussing now is exactly the just transition. And I'm very happy that we have organized, you have organized this event to make people understand what is this all about. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for motivating our youth and enlightening us on the EU work that has been going on. And also, we look forward to working with the European Union delegation to India, like our previous 4 editions. So thank you so much once again. We are also thankful to Mr. Rajesh Kumar Jha for sparing his valuable time for the boot camp. Just a small introduction. Mr. Jha is sustainability cum ESG professional, having a vast working experience of more than 15 years in central government research and development institutes, which is NERI, NEERI, in metal and jindal stainless, 2 electrical and electronic sectors at ABB India Limited. He is also leading the Environment, Social and Governance Expert Committee as the co-chairman at the Bangalore Chamber of Commerce and Industry at Karnataka, and has also expertise in promoting environment, social and governance, that is ESG, across manufacturing units as well as value chain. So we now request you to deliver these special remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So hi, good afternoon, everyone. And welcome again to this Youth Climate Conclave boot camp. And I echo with Dr. Lavleen and Mr. Bartos, in fact, about the importance of promoting awareness among the youth, in fact, and of course, their role in fighting the highly complex, in fact, the scientific problem, and of course, the difficulties, what is coming out from the climate change, I think. So I think, as we all know, transition is inevitable, but justice is not. I think that's a fact, and I think that shows the importance of all of us to understand the climate change issues and advocate the just transition. In fact, the concept what Mr. Bartos was also mentioning for a fair and inclusive world, of course, by not leaving anyone behind. And I must say, thanks to, in fact, Terry and European Union for coming together and organizing such a wonderful event, actually, to provide the learning platform for all of us. In fact, to the youth, in fact, which will, of course, be helping them to further improve their skills and the climate change issues and all. They can clearly understand, and of course, they can also be part of this just transition concept in future. So I think with a minimal, kind of sentence, I'll just complete my remarks. And of course, I request all the participants to take the advantage of this wonderful opportunity and further enhance their understanding on this particular topic. And I wish all of you, in fact, a great learning experience. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Jha. And in fact, yes, transition is inevitable. And so thank you for sharing it. And we look forward to your to the session, to the panel discussion. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
We now move to our sessions. Prior to the boot camp, an assessment to engage and deliberate with youth around issues related to environment and sustainable development, with a focus on climate change, has been undertaken to know how youth perceive environmental concerns and also to understand the environment question through a questionnaire. The findings of which will be presented today by my colleague, Ms. Taru Mehta, who is a fellow and area convener of Education for Youth Empowerment area of the EEA division at TERI. May I request Ms. Taru to present an overview on the youth perspectives. Over to you.
Thank you, Manmi. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
And I hope my screen is visible too. Manmi, is my screen visible?
It's just starting to share. Yes, it should be visible.
It's visible.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. As Monmi has already introduced the session today, I will be presenting youth's viewpoint to all the youth. Now, the viewpoint that we have gathered as part of the YCC bootcamp, it is gathered from the youth who were already part of Youth Climate Conclave in previous editions. We wanted to understand their viewpoint for the only reason that we wanted to know how comfortable are they with the climate change nuances, and also what do they think youth want in terms of climate change education and action. And of course, in addition to the first two pointers, we also wanted to understand what do they think about YCC and what kind of delivery of knowledge sharing should be planned in the future, in the fifth edition and in future course of action of YCC. And I'm honored to present this to all of you. So my presentation here, revolves around four very key aspects. I will be briefly talking about TERI, my department, Environment Education and Awareness, and YCC. Moving on to the youth's perspective and assessments, and then the conclusion. So, as most of you would know, TERI is an acronym. It stands for the Energy and Resources Institute. We are a not-for-profit research institute, and we are in our 50th year of implementation of research work in the field of environment and sustainable development. My division, Environment Education and Awareness, primarily works with students both in colleges as well as in schools in order to enhance the learning curve of students so that students get motivated enough to take actions on ground and bring along community participation also when it comes to working towards adaptation. Some significant work, I am sure most of you would be aware of the Green Olympiad, which is conducted in India and also in few countries abroad. So Green Olympiad is our flagship initiative, which we're doing since many years. And of course, after Green Olympiad, I would like to take the name of Youth Climate Conclave, which is another landmark project which we are doing since past 4 years now. So the idea here is to work on citizen science concept, how scientific concept can be brought down to the level of students so that the understanding is created and actions can be planned accordingly. Coming to Youth Climate Conclave, it started in 2019 when Mr. Hugo Estuto, the ambassador of the EU delegation to India at that point of time, inaugurated the conclave. And then from that day onwards, like none of us had our hands folded. We were working with the students on the ground and learning so many new aspects about what youth expects when it comes to climate change action and policies. So since 2019 up till 2022, we have undertaken competitions for students, and there was and 2 to 3 days were dedicated to capacity building sessions on climate change policy and national contribution towards climate change mitigation and adaptation measures. And students were trained on all these aspects. We've got wonderful outcomes in all these 4 years, starting from youth declaration on climate action in first year, and then followed by annual calendar, which is endorsed by the EU delegation, and monograph, and then youth pledge, which is taken by students after the Youth Climate Conclave. One very important aspect about Youth Climate Conclave is that this platform has also dovetailed the outcomes with flagship initiative, which international level flagship initiatives. So in 2020, we dovetailed it with Adaptation Futures, which was on climate change adaptation, and followed by World Sustainable Development Summit in consecutive years. And in 2023 also, we are now here today with the Youth Climate Conclave Bootcamp. The assessment was also part of this particular boot camp because, as I said, we wanted to understand the story of youth, like what they want actually from this particular program and from the partnership. 2024 are being planned, and we would soon be updating all of you on what is entailed in the Youth Climate Conclave 5th edition. So coming to youth's viewpoint, the objectives of conducting a survey with students was that we wanted to understand what kind of demography all our participants come from, and how their cultural, I would not say differences, but how their cultural aspirations bring into picture the discussions that happens in YCC. We also wanted to understand youth's perspective on climate change and whether they think it is a problem or not, and what are the biggest impacts that affect them personally. Level of course environmental quotient and what they believe should be part of the larger climate change dialogue, and also what role should youth play when it comes to working towards climate action. The sample size of our study was 125 youth across the country, and questions were framed taking into account our objectives, which were largely divided into demography, climate change quotient, youth aspirations and response, their perception about stakeholder response, etc., and then general feedback on the YCC. So, coming to the demographic assessment, I will not detail out the graphs because I have been given 10 minutes. But if you see the table that is there in front of you, it was very surprising when we were doing the analysis. It was very surprising for me to see that, usually in most of our programs, there is a female dominance. But in Youth Climate Conclave and in this assessment particularly, there is no such domination. We have a balance of gender wherein 50% of male members have contributed in comparison to 47% of females. So we have that balance in place. The age category, the maximum respondents in the age category of 20 to 24 years of age. Geographical domination is north of the country, which includes states like Uttar Pradesh, Delhi NCR, Haryana, Punjab, and Himachal Pradesh. This is also a significant. This is also an indication that a lot of our students in YCC participate from the northern part of the country. So there is a scope to increase our regional penetration in our future forthcoming YCCs also, YCC editions also. And as per the age, most of the highest qualification of students were that they were pursuing their graduation. Coming to the climate change quotient, so this is like a no surprise, because if the students have participated in YCC, they would understand the concept of climate change and they have heard about the term climate change. So 100% respondents say they know about climate change. Out of those, 98% say that it is for real and it is not a myth, and majority of them also believes that this particular problem needs to be addressed, and they have a role to play in it. And out of those, majority also feels that climate change will personally impact their health and safety. And when it comes to safety, particularly, students have pointed out on the climate change scenarios that we have seen in the couple of years, whether it is floods in the eastern part of the country and in the southern part of the country as well, or maybe any natural calamity in the northern part of the country. So that is how they have related safety. They have related safety to the hazards that have been taken place in 2 to 3 years time. There is this one question where we thought we'll have to have a viewpoint from youth as to what they actually want in terms of fighting towards climate change, and 71% respondents believe that their viewpoint is very, very critical, because most of them feel that somehow it is believed that students are not enough important stakeholders for dealing with climate change adaptation. But we at TERI simply believe that since the demographic dividend, the youth of the country is so the numbers are huge, it is a very big resource, and that is how we want to train students on climate change, so that they are capable enough to take those actions on the ground. 62% also feel that government should support the role of youth in the climate change discourse, and there should be policies in place which of course there should be policies in place to mitigate climate change, but there should be also policies in place to incentivize people who take action, especially youth. So I think that this is a very, very valid point from students, and at some platform we must take this to the government to see whether something like this is also possible, and I'm sure there would be policies in place in the coming future. 82% respondent also feel that it is important to participate in programs like Youth Climate Conclave or in other climate change driven programs, so that one, they understand about the issue, and also they get a platform where stakeholders, whether it is government or corporates or NGOs, understand what youth is capable of driving the agenda of climate change. There were mixed opinions about whether the pro environment campaigns lead to any kind of climate action and any outcome for by the stakeholders. So here we see a lot of scope in interweaving thought processes of youth in our upcoming YCC. Youth response to climate crisis is, yes, they are willing to contribute to the climate action, and they are aware about the policies and initiatives that are taken up by the stakeholders. Now here, to our surprise, here the youth perception about stakeholder response to climate change was taken up, and the stakeholders that were given to them were media, corporates and industries, educational institutions, youth, government agencies, NGOs, individuals, international organizations. In their responses, while students are associated with educational institutions, and individually also they interact at many levels, so they were pretty much aware of what is happening at that particular front. But with other agencies, I am sure that the inferences of our analysis was that the policies and the actions that are taken up by other stakeholders doesn't reach to the youth, and which is why they are not even aware of what actually takes place on the ground. So having said that, there is a whole scope of inclusion of speakers from such fraternity, though there were speakers from these fraternity even in the previous YCC editions, but I think more has to be shared with students so that they understand what each stakeholders responses are to climate action, and how can they contribute to the making of such actions, and how in terms of what kind of changes can be made in their curriculum, or in the delivery of their education, etc., and how can it percolates to the aspirations that they pursue in future. Feedback for YCC was very encouraging. Majority of the respondents have rated excellent and very good to the way YCC is done. It's a 3-day event which takes place, and it is interspersed with a field trip. Then there are panel discussions, there are keynote speeches, there is a dedicated session where students come together and work on an outcome document. So all in all, the pedagogy which is there within YCC comprises of many aspects where youth is given a platform, and where there is a platform to even lot of new topics on climate change. So this fairly is very encouraging from the point of view of organizing yet another YCC in 2024. So coming to the conclusion, I'm sorry I've taken more time. This is like my last slide. There were certain limitations when it came to taking this survey and doing the assessment. It was a short duration, and the sample size was limited. Respondents were concentrated in northern region, though we have the YCC was fairly attended by good participation from southern part of the country, and even from the western part of the country. But the analysis was the survey was limited to the northern region. Responses received from a diverse age group. Now, if you see the Youth Climate Conclave age group, it's quite vast, 10 to 25, but within YCC we try to take into account the difficulty levels at various stages. Even our competitions are divided into 2 age groups. So that is how we try to bring in the inputs from a child as young as 10 years. So social profiling was not included. We didn't do a social profiling of the cities that came from for YCC, and academic expertise not included. We don't really restrict the background, the stream that a student chooses. So environment studies should be for all, and that is what is practiced within India, and we also want to promote that particular factor. Coming to, I will leave the generalizations, but coming to future scope of YCC, what can be made better in the fifth edition is that we need to have a stronger, amalgamation of stakeholders' response to climate change, so that our youth understand what each of the stakeholders are doing, because unless all the stakeholders come together and work towards climate action, this problem will not be solved. So we need to have a reinforcement of role of stakeholders in front of the youth. Secondly, a more action-oriented deliverable, probably, because our 2 to 3 day session, the larger part of the sessions are indoors, where sessions are conducted, but students want to do something out of their hands. They want to go out and dirty their hands. So maybe something related to more action-oriented stuff can be planned as part of the YCC. Strengthening of pedagogy for effective delivery. As I said, there could be some action-oriented learning also, and continuation of youth engagement. Many a times, it happens that our youth also have mentioned it, that the discontinuation of any kind of learning program or any kind of inputs initiatives like these also disrupts the action and the way students take it to implement such changes. So it's important that there is a continuity between such programs, so that they are part of it and they continue to be part of it for future to come. And I hope that in times to come we are able to announce when actually the YCC 5th edition is being planned, and I hope that I did justice to the assessment that was carried out. Thank you so much to all the students for giving their inputs. I hope I was able to cover all the pointers, and yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Monmi.
Thank you, Tarun. Thank you for a very detailed overview. It was, in fact, very encouraging to see that, 71% of the youth believe that their viewpoint is important for combating climate change. So thank you to all the participants as well. And we now begin with the panel discussion, and we shall start with the panel discussion 1, which is on moving towards just transition for a fair and inclusive world. The session is moderated by Mr. Nimish Singh. He is an associate fellow at the Air Quality Research Division at TERI. The speakers of the session are Mr. Bathos. We already have introduced Mr. Bathos. We have also Mr. Rajesh Kumar Jha from ABB India. We have Dr. Jayanta Mitra, Senior Fellow, Electricity and Renewables Division at TERI, and also Dr. Pooja Vijay Ramamurthy, who is an Associate Fellow at the Center for Social and Economic Progress. So I now hand over to Mr. Nimish for further proceedings. Over to you.
Thank you, Monmi. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I stand before you today with a profound sense of responsibility and excitement as we gather to dwell into an imperative topic of moving towards just transition for a fair and inclusive world. This is not merely a conversation. It is a call to action, an exploration of pathways that lead us to a future where fairness and inclusivity are cornerstone of our collective journey. In pursuit of just transition, we recognize that change is not only inevitable, but also essential. As your moderator for this crucial discussion, I'm deeply honored to guide us through the nuances and complexities of this theme. My name is Nimish Singh, and we are here today with with the distinguished individuals guiding our conversations. I'm really sorry, my voice got stuck. So let us welcome and extend our gratitude. You have met with Mr. Bathos and Mr. Rajesh. I will be introducing Dr. Jayanta Mitra, who is a senior fellow from Electricity and Renewable Division at TERI. He has been working for about 18 years as a change agent in development sector. He is an alumnus of Tata Institute of Social Sciences. He has overseen a number of projects with public-private people partnership approach, including focus on forging reciprocal relationships with government organizations, various local, national, and international knowledge and resource partners. He is a developmental ideator and thinker and has published articles in a number of reputed journals and has served as a trustee and board members in various not-for-profit organizations in India. Presently, he is leading the effort from TERI's side on a development of framework on just transition, which is very much into today's topic. We are also welcoming Dr. Pooja Vijaya Ramamurthy. Dr. Pooja is an associate fellow from Center for Social and Economic Progress. She has completed her PhD in Science, Technology and Environmental Policy from Princeton University. She works on climate and energy transition policy, particularly focusing on role that India can play in accelerating domestic and international actions towards decarbonization. Her work has always been a multidisciplinary, where she looks at techno-economic, social, and political dimensions of sustainability. She has worked in various premier think tanks in India. She has also worked on projects in Ghana and Cambodia. She is recipient of Prize Fellowship from Social Sciences at Princeton University. She has got her double masters from Sweden and Portugal via Energy Scholarship granted by European Union. I would like to thank all of you for joining us. And without further ado, let us begin this crucial conversation. Also, all the questions can be taken in the last or in between. Any of you who would like to ask any queries, please raise your hands virtually or write your questions in the chat. We will take them with the specific speakers and they will answer your questions. Hello, Mr. Bathos. My first question is for you. So, given the strategic importance of EU-India relations, how can both entities collaborate effectively to ensure a just transition that aligns with global climate goals? Are there specific areas of mutual interest or policy exchanges that can accelerate the transition process towards a fair and inclusive world while addressing climate and energy challenges? Over to you, Mr. Bathos.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, if I may ask everybody to switch off their microphones because there was clearly some background noise. Somebody was speaking, but yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you very much. So cooperation between EU and cooperation between EU and India. Indeed, it's a huge topic. It's an enormous wide range of different activities. So let me try to be a little bit concise. But okay, now over the last couple of years, we have been, especially over the last couple of years, because of course the cooperation goes much beyond, much before that. But over the last couple of years, we have been very active in establishing a very good, intensive and constructive cooperation with India in the area of climate action, with the view to ensure the climate action goals, but also to ensure the just transition. So the topic that we are talking about today. We have been working together with India at all possible levels, starting from the high-level political meetings, which probably you have seen in the media, such as G20 summit that was organized here in New Delhi. It was a very successful one. It was also very successful in terms of setting new direction, also in the energy and climate action. We have the 5 very high-level meetings and exchanges at COP28 now, where the leaders are discussing the global climate ambitions. There are different United Nations platforms, but also if we go lower in this pyramid, there is also a lot of bilateral, more technical and more tangible cooperation. And here, in fact, the best example is our beautiful child, which is now 7 years old, which is Clean Energy and Climate Partnership, which in fact it's also in the framework of this Clean Energy and Climate Partnership we are organizing this event. So it's in fact a big platform of cooperation between the EU and India, covering several areas from renewable energy, electricity, smart grids, energy efficiency, and many others. It has been established in 2016, 7 years ago, to promote exchange of experiences, good practices, helping each other to create or adjust the relevant legislation, facilitating contacts between research institutes, universities, but also businesses of both sides. And all this is, globally speaking, aims at promoting decarbonization and to help achieve the Paris Agreement goals. But okay, if we go to more specific details, to more specific sectors, there are of course several areas of mutual interest where policy dialogue and cooperation can accelerate the transition process, both in Europe and here in India. And so, first of all, there are really a lot of them, but let me maybe start from one, which is the topic of our today's meeting, which is the just transition. So, in fact, the European Union is really trying to help India manage this just transition from carbon to green economy. Just as an example, we are just now discussing with our partners a very important project which will help some selected regions to go through the process of transition from coal-dominated to greener economy and society. We hope we will be working with the central, but also with the regional authorities and with some businesses, some coal mine managers, and to help them establish the mechanisms which will facilitate this transition and allow people and economies to softly, let's say, and justly shift into the cleaner future. But okay, there are many other areas. As I said, we work very intensively on the renewable energy. Both EU and India, we have both ambitious renewable energy targets, and collaborating on research, technology transfer, investment in renewable energy sources like solar, wind, hydroelectric power can really accelerate the shift away from the fossil fuels. Then we make joint efforts, we work together in developing and deploying clean technologies. We all know that India is very technology hungry. It's really like we hear it every day that you need technology. So yes, so we are trying to step in and help to develop those technologies together, of course, in joint cooperation. And those clean technologies include storage solutions, smart grids, electric mobility, and all those can, of course, significantly reduce emissions and enhance energy efficiency. And yeah, I just gave 3 examples, but we are, of course, open and we are thinking about many other areas of technology. Of course, what is very important and very tangible component of our work is also the facilitating investment flows from the EU to India for sustainable infrastructure projects and climate resilient development. Again, it's very important for India to have foreign investment, which is also linked with technology, which I was talking before. So technology, investment flows from Europe to India. Then we are also more than happy to share the best practices and experiences in implementing emission reduction strategies, like emission trading system, or what is called here in India, the carbon credit scheme. As I said, here in India, the authorities, the government is developing its own carbon credit scheme. We support, of course, very much this development. We are very happy that there is this work going on. But what we need to remember is that in order to fulfill their basic functions, those schemes of different countries and regions must be comparable and consistent among each other. So in fact, we need to jointly ensure this consistency. And this is what we are offering also, we meaning the European Commission colleagues from Europe and from the other member states are offering to India to help them, maybe not to help, but to exchange the views, exchange the ideas, and make sure that the 2 systems are comparable and compatible, because otherwise they will not work. Otherwise, there will be no flow of trade. There will be no flow of investment between the two parties. Another topic of common interest is circular economy and waste management. Collaboration on waste management practices, recycling technologies, promoting a circular economy, it all can reduce waste generation and minimize the environmental impact. An Indian initiative of Resource Efficiency and Circular Economy Industry Coalition, which has been also opened or proposed recently, it's a very good example of such partnership going beyond only EU and India. But we very much subscribe on this area on this initiative. Then there are joint initiatives focusing on climate resilience, disaster management, and adaptation strategies. Here again, we have a very nice example of international organization, which is Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. It's a perfect example of such global initiative, and it can help not only the European Union and India, but also other countries around the world to mitigate the adverse effects of climate change and protect the vulnerable communities. And in fact, in the same context, we have also an ongoing project of climate proofing in the state of Gujarat, where the European methodology is being used to monitor and predict possible natural disasters and prevent the potential damages. So again, cooperation and using our methodology, our technologies to make progress here in India. Then we have collaboration on sustainable agriculture practices and food security initiatives. As I said, agriculture, food is also part of the Green Deal. And we have several projects in this field implemented here in India together with our partners, like, for example, the United Nations Environmental Program. And we are also now going to launch a new project on biodiversity in the state of Rajasthan to promote sustainable agri-food processes. And finally, last but not least, we try to be very active in promoting public awareness and education. And here we organize joint campaigns, initiatives, which aim at raising public awareness about climate change, sustainability, just transition. And we hope that those activities not only inform people, but they can also enhance public support and drive some behavioral changes among the society. And in fact, this Youth Climate Conclave and the boot camp of today, it's a wonderful example of such initiatives. So yeah, maybe I was a little bit too long, sorry for that, but you see, it's really a huge possibility. And in fact, we are already doing things, but there is also potential for further cooperation. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Batos. That was very insightful. And I got stuck on one of the points that India is technology hungry. So yeah, we are. And the generation which is sitting right there, they are much more hungrier than the present one is. So my next question is from Mr. Rajesh Kumar Jha. Given your background on industrial safety and environmental issues, what is your viewpoint on given the push for environmental sustainability in the transition process? How can industries ensure a just transition that not only prioritizes social and environmental concerns, but also maintains high industrial safety? Over to you, Mr. Rajesh.
Right. So thank you, Mr. Nimesh, for this pertinent question. In fact, considering the role of industry in just transition, in fact. So it's very important for any company, in fact, to bring the balance between the three pillars, as we know that, planet, people, and of course profit. And I think the most critical part is, of course, the social angle, where the employee well-being, health, and safety is also concerned, right? As a kind of the push what we have from industry. In fact, when I can quote ABB's example. So we have a example 2030 sustainability target over here, and where we promote not only just the climate change issues, but also the other aspect of social and of course governance areas, where we can also say in terms of ES and G, actually, where the social angle consider the kind of health and well-being of the employee, in fact, right? So if you see, having a very strong framework, the policies, and of course the overall kind of commitment from the company actually helps us overall to bring a kind of the best of the best workplace for employees, the kind of the health and of course the safe and healthy workplace, in fact. And of course, when we say in ABBs, we also have a clear target of becoming a kind of carbon neutral, but besides also we are looking at bringing, the kind of ensuring zero harm to our employees and contractors, and of course bringing the lost time injury whatever we have actually as lesser as possible. So that clearly shows, in fact, the safety is our kind of the priority. And of course industries also, if you see, besides the climate change the issues, in effect whatever they are having it, they're also targeting the safety, and they're bringing the former standard, in fact to improve the overall performance. So I feel in this particular area, like of course just transition and all this, we also must look at the other angle where of course the well-being and safety of the entire employees are concerned, and of course strong commitment from the industry with clear policy, having a very detailed processes in place. And of course when we follow the best practices in terms of safety standards, whatever we have with the regulations and rules given in place, and of course continuous skill development, I think that's another area that we have been targeting. Of course this all area, when you target together, when you address all this aspect, I think you provide the safe and healthy workplace for the entire employees and contractor, in fact. And of course you foster the safety culture also in the in industry. So yeah, so you can say that any industry can ensure just transition, which will not only prioritize the social and environmental concern, but also they would be focusing on the safety aspect, bringing more high standards, kind of the practices and the policies and processes in their company. And of course, I think we should also see that aspect that not one size fits all. So here also all industries must see that what best practices they can adopt and what are the best practices which is really applicable to them. And we should also consider the no one lives behind in this particular entire area, like of course not only within the employees but also the contractors and the supply chain. In fact, not only we are talking about within the factory, but how about the people who are working on behalf of you or who are really going to produce product for you, in fact. So in fact the entire value chain and the within the employees, like within the factory, in fact you have to take care with our, of course what I mentioned earlier, with the framework, the policies, of course, and all the practices what can be adopted. Yeah, so I think that clearly shows that that's a way actually an industry should adopt certain practices, and they can address this particular issue also. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So if I can sum it up, it's every man counts and no one is left behind in your strategies. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Rajesh.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, my next question is from Dr. Jayanta. As you are developing a framework for just transition, how do you ensure the active inclusion of diverse stakeholders, including local communities, industries, policymakers? What are the strategies or methodologies are integral to creating a comprehensive framework that addresses the multifaceted aspect of a fair and inclusive transition? Over to you, Ms. Dr. Jayanta. Dr. Jayanta, we are not able to hear you.
Sorry, yeah, I have to unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Great. Yeah, it's very pertinent point that you have raised, and it's tough also to answer. One can really talk for hours on this particular subject. In fact, as part of our research, we have visited all coal-producing geographies, especially the eastern region of India. And as part of our research, we tried to get a feel of the ground and interacted with various stakeholders on the ground. And we are sort of, in the process of finalizing the framework, a just transition framework for that can guide future policies and action. Before I talk on that, I think it's important, as our earlier speakers and our colleague from you also very eloquently said that transition from a carbon intensive economy to a cleaner and greener economy is a switch, but any transition or a change, cannot happen overnight. It is incremental, and it's a process that unfolds and that involves a lot of planning, a lot of investment, a lot of resources, understanding aspirations of people. We need to also understand, engage, people at the bottom of the pyramid, so that no one is left behind. We diversify local income. So in a way, creating a blueprint together so that we make people, the communities, all those who are dependent on coal economy more future ready. What could be an alternative livelihood strategy? So this framework essentially, tries to create a kind of, a mechanism, suggests, certain guideline that how you go about doing that. So both qualitative and quantitative data that we have gathered and we are analyzing is really helping us to take a deeper dive into the whole coal value chain, and we are trying to see how we can operationalize this whole framework on the ground, at a local level, because one needs to demystify the whole concept of just transition. At this juncture, except in few locations like in Jharkhand, they have created a task force, and they are engaging with the local institutions, the communities and the people and the panchayat, that is the local self-government. Uh, in other places, it's still the discourse is happening at a top level, but this dialogue has to flow down below at a subnational, regional, and local level. So, so your question that you were saying that in the just transition framework, how we are trying to address all these issues, right? So if I understood it right, so it's very complex, So in a phased manner. So what we are saying is initially we need to really sensitize people at different levels, make them part of this, dialogue, so that they understand the significance of this switch, and at the second stage, gradually how we can testify some of our ideas on the ground in order to diversify local economy, uh, repurpose land. Let us say if a mine is getting closed or it's already abandoned, now how do we use that land asset, and integrate renewable energy options and generate revenue? Ironically, I must also say here, all the coal producing geographies we have seen, they're on one hand generating huge revenue, and there are signs of prosperity, but on the other hand, you also find pockets of poverty. And more and more coal mines are outsourcing their work to the informal workforce. And there are certain estimations, we don't have clear data, but about 14 million people, who are connected directly or indirectly with this coal sector. But if you look at the induced segment, the number will rise. Again, there are different segments who are going to be impacted differently, so one needs to understand. So in our research, we try to understand how different segments of population.
Dr. Janta, we can't hear you again. Dr. Janta, we can't hear you again.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So how you repurpose land, how you could create a dedicated fund, what could be the green development initiatives. So all that we have dealt with in this framework. Could I respond to your question?
Yes, Dr. Janta, perfectly fine. This was very much what I actually wanted to hear. And I think our young participants also, because looking from the ground perspective is something which they miss a lot. In the textbook, it's usually the upper. Am I audible? I think Dr. Janta cannot hear me. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So I think there is some issues with Dr. Janta's mic end. So moving on towards our next speaker, Dr. Pooja. Coming from a techno-economic background, my question towards you is on the same topic. Considering the rapid pace of technological advancement, how can we ensure that the just transition is technologically sound and economically viable, especially for industries that may face disruptions? What strategies should be in place to facilitate a smooth transition without compromising the technological progress? As most of the progress at this point of time being discussed wants us to stop the development process or something on that line. So, how we can do it? How we can move forward? What do you, Dr. Pooja?
Thanks a lot for having me on this. I think the background now. I think somebody needs to mute their. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on this panel. I just completed my PhD, but honestly, Nimish's questions are much harder than that experience. It's quite hard to answer them. But I will try my best. And also, I just before that, I wanted to just talk about how I am also actually a product of the European Union scholarship. So I am also a product of this Indo-European collaboration. I think my time with energy and sustainability all started when I was doing my master's in Sweden and in Lisbon as well. And it was a very enriching experience because at that point, like around 10 years ago, it was a new sector which was coming up in India, but it was also quite established there. So I remember I went on many tours during my programs where I saw offshore wind plants, where I saw a lot of geothermal in Portugal, and just things which I hadn't experienced in India, but which I think through that exchange and through that scholarly exchange really made me very passionate about the whole energy sector and these transitions, and to understand what my learnings in Europe and how could they be applied to the global south in general. So I think there was a question by Kaustubh as well, where he asked how can we involve the youth, and I think one of the best ways to involve the youth is through these through these scholarships, these study opportunities, and kind of these exchanges of knowledge. So I just wanted to acknowledge that as well. But yeah, so I think coming to the question, as Mr. Bartho said, I think India right now is very technologically hungry. We are, but I don't think the question of that we are going to grow so rapidly that they're going to be technological disruptions, I don't think that is going to happen. I think if you've always seen the technology is available, but how do you make it economically viable, and how do you also make it politically feasible and culturally acceptable to be implemented? I think those are some of the questions there. So like even if you see like and I think India has had a good track record with this. Like for instance, if you see when we had our solar mission, like at that point, like the tariffs was so expensive. It was at 12, but through government initiatives and through a lot of, I think, smart policies and through a lot of push both at the center and the state, now we have a solar tariff which is 2.5 or even lower than that, which is competing. So I think it's not going to be a question of, is there going to be some kind of rapid degrowth or something. What I think is going to be is that we need to learn how to make a financial and political and culturally, socio-economically, how do these technologies become more economically viable, and also how do we integrate it into our system in a phased manner, because no matter what transition is going to happen, it has to happen in a phased manner. They are going to be winners of the transition and they're going to be losers of the transition either. And it is important that both actors and are being included in these transitions, and that the technology is meeting the needs of both these actors. So I think that is something which is very important. I think even when you talk about disruptions, I mean, even if you see NTPC itself, which is our largest, the National Thermal power company, which I think is responsible for the majority of the coal plants which we have now. They themselves are not pushing back to the transition. They themselves are trying to adapt, and they themselves are trying to understand how do we include more in renewables into our portfolio, how do we ramp down and up our plants and things like that, you know. So I think in India, which is very unique compared to what I experienced in, because I just did my PhD in the US, where you have certain strong pro renewable or pro anti-coal versus pro-coal. I think in India is you're seeing less of that, and what you are seeing is a kind of phased approach, where we are seeing that the transition is going to happen in a phased approach, where even those who are more on the fossil fuel side are trying to kind of understand that the time is going to reach the end. So how do they kind of adapt, and how do they also like how do they change the way that they work in order to meet whatever fallout is going to happen from the energy transition. So when it comes to India, I don't see any technologically unsound path, or I don't see a path which is going to lead to a sudden disruption or degrowth. According to me, I think it is going to be, and luckily we are also a country which is growing right now, so we have the option to leapfrog. You know, we are not like the Western countries who already have established systems and now have to like go back and like we can start from scratch, and while we are building up, I think there's a lot of opportunity to integrate a lot of sustainable technologies into our system. So I think we're also at that advantage, you know, where we can build to meet our energy needs. We can build more sustainably and also leapfrog at this time, and we have been doing so, as I already said. So what is most important, and I think what will be most advantageous, is to have a smooth transition, to not try to shake up the system too much, you know, because then you also will have, and I know that's a question that we get into later, but then you don't want to make any sudden transitions also, because it has to be a politically feasible transition as well. And when it comes to the technologies, I honestly think India is right now becoming at the forefront of technological innovation. I mean, even when I I've traveled a lot around the world. When you come to India, you see so many e-scooters, these Ulus. You see, this whole service delivery economy, which is on Ulus, which is something I have not seen in in other places. You have a lot of even when it comes behavioral aspects, if you see in the G20, a lot of the messaging was around human centric transitioning into the sustainable sector. So I think in that sense, technologically we are being sound, and we are also taking a lot of different approaches, more a human centric approach, more a demand side and a supply side. So in that aspect, I think as long as we have a holistic view, I think we should be okay. But one thing that is really important, and I'm going to stop at this point, is that we do need to understand how to channelize finances in order to make sure that this transition happens well, and that these technologies. So as I said, we have had really good schemes in the past, where we have managed to lower our tariffs, we have managed to secure good supply chains of technology. And I think with this transition as well, we need to have kind of this long-term view on how to make it economically viable, and as well as have good supply chains. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja. That was very insightful. I completely agree that we have the advantage from learn from others' mistakes, because at that point of time, when the Western countries were growing, they didn't have the discussion on the sustainability. But at this point of time, we do, and we have the opportunity to make use of that part. Dr. Jayantha's hand is up. I think he wants to add something to that.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to say that you see, coal is not going to disappear very soon, and coal will continue to peak. If you look at Niti Aayog's report, it says so next 10, 12 years, 15 years time. So beyond 2040, of course, the curve is going to bend. But it's also an advantage for us. It gives us sufficient time, about a decade or a little more than a decade, to experiment different ideas, testify some of those solutions that we have, the technologies, looking at both demand and supply side, and then create a kind of replicable model. I think that is a necessity, and so that we can make people, communities, industries future ready. So it will happen incrementally, but it would be really late if we fail to deliberate today and we postpone it for doing it at a later point. So I think proactively we need to engage right away, otherwise it would be late. So yeah, I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jayanta. So basically what you are actually saying is that we need an urgent discussion on this part as we are actually having today, and have a holistic development, which is need of the hour at this point of time. So now, as we are running out of time, I don't think so we have the time for second round of questions, but I would like to request the speakers, if you want to address the audience with some of their points, so the floor is open to you. Do you want to ask anything? And just something on the questions that they have been asking. So they are more also addressed to Mr. Bartos. So how they can actually contribute towards the EU-India discussions in terms of working on some of the projects, or getting involved in the activities whichever is going on, be it on the discussion side. But I think Dr. Pooja can also give her inputs, because she is actually a product of India-EU collaboration.
Yeah, no, exactly. So yeah, thank you very much for this question. Indeed, what can I add? Definitely, the youth should be, young people should be very actively searching for such possibilities as traineeships, as exchanges, as well. We have, the European Union has Erasmus Plus program, which allows young people, students from across the world to come to Europe for a certain period of time to study. Also in our projects, of course, I cannot promise that we will involve young people from India in the negotiations between our commissioner and the minister here in India. That's not possible. But in fact, in several of our projects, we have as a special clause that, well, in fact, it's mostly about women empowerment, because that's really very important for us. So in many projects, we really put a lot of emphasis and a lot of attention on the fact that women should participate in the activities. In some of them, there is also this idea that young people should be involved. It's not yet, let's say, the overarching principle. So we don't have it everywhere, but we definitely propose a lot of educational research exchanges programs, in which we very much encourage here the people who are listening to us to participate. And a very good example, just yesterday, here in the delegation of the European Union, in our section, in the section in which I am working, we have a new trainee, a new stagiaire, as we call him. So yeah, also, of course, it's just one person per year or something like this, but yeah, that is also a good option, a good opportunity. A young person, a student who is now working with us for 6 months, and after that time he will have hopefully a very useful and very enriching experience from this work. So yeah, definitely I'm encouraging our participants to look into those options.
Yeah, I think I'll just add to that as well, saying that it is, I think one of the best ways that the youth can is through exchange. I mean, as much as you can, try to get an experience from a different culture or a different country, that kind of experience, because you can learn a lot. I mean, we can learn a lot from each other. So, like, and I think even they gain a lot from us being in their institutions, and we gain a lot from being in their institutions. And I think that really also changes your worldview and the way you approach pro- uh, pro- problems. So, as Mr. Bartot says, there are a lot of opportunities. During my PhD, I spent 3 months in BNR as well when I was doing a research fellowship there. So there are always opportunities. So you can always, I think, look at those, and yeah, and just try to like expand your horizons as much as you can.
Just a point that I wanted to add here. It's very encouraging what Mr. Barthos and Pooja they have said. Of course, it really widens your horizon, and this kind of exposure is enlightening. However, my submission to my young friends is also, I don't know how many of you have ever visited a coal, a coal belt, and what are the challenges, how it looks like, what is the kind of struggle that people face, how is the air, how is water, how is overall environment. So it's worth hitting the ground. Even in my own team, I keep telling my colleagues, beyond desk research, till we hit the ground, we don't know, the life on the ground. So it's very different, and we spent sufficient time on the ground. And from there, in fact, I had shared a few slides. Nimish, I don't know if you have. I mean, I don't want to share all those the content part and those jargons, all those slides, but there are a few slides where I have captured few filled pictures. So if you can screen it, I mean, share this on the screen, I can just take them through. Perhaps that will create some interest, and you would be able to relate to what's the life on the ground. So is it feasible? Yeah. Okay.
Sajanta, please go ahead. The slides are visible, but you are, I think, muted again.
Yeah, just take me to the pictures, the slide number 3. Just quickly to give you a feel. So here you find, one open cast mines. Here you have an incline, the underground mines. So in India today, you find there are across all these eastern region states, you find a lot of mines that were closed and that are going to be closed. In next few years, in next 5 years, 30 mines are going to be closed. So this is just to give you a feel. If you just travel through this road, you will see there is a layer of coal, and the coal dust. Although in certain places you will find people are sprinkling water, but that's not adequate. The plants don't look green; they look gray. The water is polluted, and people have lots of respiratory issues that Bartos was mentioning in the beginning, as he had experienced in his childhood days. And women and all the youth we had spoken to were complaining about, all skin irritation, etc. And with this, the alcoholism also has increased, and that has also snatched many lives. So can you take me to the other slide? There are just few pictures I can take you through quickly. Yeah. So here you see, there are a lot of mines that are abundant, not officially closed. There is a different story to it. People still continue to visit those mines and illegally, mine or collect, coal. And in all these sacks you find, they're full of this coal, which they burn in their backyard. The raw coal they burn, and then they sell it in the market at a price, and that's how they make their living. And how you see women are burdened selecting in burning this and collecting it. They are also taking care of their agricultural land. Over and above that, they also take care of their household activities. So you can see how women are burdened. Next picture, please. Nimish, next picture. Yeah. So here I was saying, how people make their living. So just look at this young boy. He gets up so early in the morning, maybe around 3:30, and then he collects this coal, And for miles, he carries these many kgs of coal. And at the end of the day, he starts his journey in the morning, and at the end of the day, he earns a meager amount of around 500 rupees. It means there is a demand, and he supplies it to those roadside eateries and so on. So this is a different story. I'm writing a travelogue, which will be released in due course, and I have captured voices of people, how they are impacted, when a mine closes, and how is the life of the ground. So yeah, so the next picture. So here it's interesting to see, you see some women, they're carrying the headload, the coal in their basket. And there are other women, the tribals, especially the tribal women, who are, uh, I mean, conventionally dependent on forest and forest produces. Like kendu leaves, they collect and they make berries and they sell. And this lady, she's out of, a grass variety, she is making broom. So that also is sold in the local market. So, but the issue is what we have discovered. This is being done at an individual level because they have certain traditional skills and knowledge. But unless we collectivize, self-help groups or women, and take it to a level that they can supply to the market. There's an linkage established with the market, backward forward linkage, and branding and packaging is done. This will not really be converted into an income generation activity. So that is where we need to put in our money, our intelligence. We need to also integrate renewable energy options, technologies we can leverage to make sure that there is a bulk production and there is income generation out of this. So that also offers supplementary income choices to women, and that's how you can ensure that women become decision makers. They take control of their future destiny. Yeah, next please. Yeah, so this is just a glimpse of our interaction. When you go to field, we interact people at stakeholders at different levels, with the women's groups, with workers who work in the mines. And I must say, these workers you see in these pictures, they're all employed by contractors. Now, here you need to understand the cycle of vulnerability. Chronically, they are entangled into the cycle of vulnerability because there is an element of uncertainty. Today, maybe 2 years, 1 year, 3 years, they work under one contractor, but after 3 years, it may go, they may lose their job. After 1 year, they may lose their job. And more important is the social security system. They're not really covered, unlike the regular employees who enjoy a lot of benefit in the coal industry. But these guys, the 70% of population, who contribute to coal extraction and other activities connected with this coal mining in the value chain, continue to lead a life where they're not really protected enough, and they continue to remain vulnerable. So just to give you a feel of it, I just shared some of these slides, just to give you a feel of the ground. And I really submit that it's important for all young minds, to really go to field, spend some time, engage with women, engage with different segments of population, talk to a roadside eatery and see how he manages, what kind of fuel he uses, and where from has he migrated, and what happens when the coal mine closes. What are the options, what are the choices do we have, how do we widen those economic choices? So these are many questions, not that we have all answers, but together we can make a difference, and we can experiment, we can demonstrate certain things on the ground where we can leverage technologies, and ensure that nobody is left behind. All that our earlier speakers have very rightly echoed is very true, and make an inclusive ecosystem. But so therefore, in one sentence, I must say that we need to promote entrepreneurial ecosystem. And that could be agro-based, that could be forest-based produce, that could be traditional knowledge-based products. But that linkages both institutional linkages, backward forward linkages are crucial, and that's what will help them thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Jayanta. And we have completely run out of time and we have other sessions also. So I would like to thank all the speakers and our audience for their thoughtful engagement. And thank you for bringing this important conversation to the team, which has led us here. And I would like to end this session and hand over the session to Monavi. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Nimish. Thank you to all the speakers also. Thank you, Nimish, for moderating such an, interesting session. It's also, as mentioned in the beginning, it's also the Green Diplomacy Week, and the theme is Global Just Energy Transition. So I think it's a very important topic. And of course, transition is inevitable. And with taking this forward, and I would also like to mention here that we have also we are live streaming this on YouTube. So if students, if attenders who couldn't want to focus on one particular aspect, you can again go through the YouTube link. It's available on the YouTube channel of Terry, so you can just go through that. You can, it has been live streamed, so you can go through it again. Thank you once again to all the speakers. And so, yes, we are running short of time, but we have another panel discussion. And as you know, in the chat also, I see many are talking about, role of youth and, importance of youth. So here, yes, we are here to, talk about this second panel discussion, which is on the Youth Speaks, that is the role of youth for just transition. And taking from your feedback, we have really incorporated. We thought that this is a very important aspect, and as our project itself is about youth, so definitely we would want to have a session on this. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce our wonderful panelist for the panel discussion on the second session. We have Mr. Rajesh S., who is the Chief Conservator of Forest of Environment and Climate Change Department at the Government of Arunachal Pradesh. Mr. Rajesh is a climate change management expert and an Erasmus Mundus scholar employed in the IFS, that is Indian Forest Service, and he has been focusing on the implementation of climate resilient and responsive development strategies to contribute to the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. He has, anchored unique engagements in climate policy development at subnational level, development of CDM projects, local adaptation projects, be it promotion of nature-based value chains, climate resilient agriculture, horticulture, and fishery. He has also promoted ecosystem-based approaches for eco restoration of the rich forest in Delhi and applied community-based engagements to improve urban forestry in the city, besides his current position in Arunachal Pradesh. Very grateful to have you, Mr. Rajesh. We also have Ms. Neha Jain. Miss Jane is a passionate change maker who has been working on the intersection of climate action, inclusive education, and gender equality with different stakeholders and organizations. Currently, she is the project lead of Climate Ready. This is a program in Delhi government schools and engages with UNICEF India as youth co-content creator. She has also been recognized as one of the 28 change makers in India under the hashtag 28 for 28 by MASH Foundation. Thank you so much, Ms. Jain, for your presence today. We have none other than our YCC alumni, as I would likely be proud myself to call him as Mr. Ashraf Nihal. So Mr. Ashraf holds a master's in South Asian area studies from the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London. He has worked with government officers, including the offices of the Member of Parliament, Chief Minister, and the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, contributing to the development of climate legislation and parliamentary bills. His expertise extend to research and policy, He is formerly a global youth ambassador for their world. He currently serves as a core committee member of the Art, Culture, and Heritage Working Group of Yonjo, that is YOUNGO. No, noteworthy achievements out of many are, selection for the COP28 Children and Youth Pavilion, and of course, acknowledgement as a youth climate leader. We are very grateful to have all of these speakers. So thank you so much. And coming to the panel discussion, like the topic, as I've mentioned, it's the role of youth for just transition. So, we will, because of we are also running short of time, we will have one round of question for each of the panels, each of the panelists, and also for the attendees. We have been seeing your questions here. Even though if we run out of time, we will definitely try to have these questions addressed through our speakers here. Even so, please put your questions in the chat box. So, all right. So, coming to the panel discussion, my first question is to Mr. Rajesh. In the pursuit of just transition, how can we basically, ensure meaningful participation of youth at the grassroots level? I mean, how do we make sure their voices are heard and, integrated in the community-based environmental initiatives?
Yeah, thank you very much. This is indeed a real topic of the time. And special thanks to the organizers as we are having COP28 happening in Dubai. We are discussing about the crucial involvement of youth in climate change response. So coming to the core part of the question, how we can connect with the youth. Of course, this is a real engine of change we have in our country. Our population is 50% of our population is less than 25 and 60% is below 35. And we have the ongoing spurs in technological innovations and the path forward to achieve a developed country by 2070. So the whole roadmap is very clear. Now, when we talk about the inclusion of youth in climate action, the first challenge is perhaps institutionalization. Of course, there have been several landmark developments, including this conclave, which is forging that kind of institutional development. But we need such institutional developments at state level and district level and local level. So I would like to take the example from the state of Arunachal Pradesh, how we try to bringing this. As it was outlined in the introduction, the state of Arunachal Pradesh is the first state in our country to put in place a subnational level declaration on climate change. And to foster the inclusive action at local level, we have crafted a very unique arrangement called a Federation of Development Committees. So these committees will work at Panchayat level. So that's the platform where we need action, because while we set the policies on climate change at international and national level, we need a corresponding action at a local level or subnational level to translate these policies according to the real requirements of the field at ground. So this unique institutional arrangement, which we innovated in Arunachal Pradesh, provides a platform to converge different NGOs, including student communities, particularly in Northeast India. Student communities are quite powerful, and they're part of the real politics in the states, as well as like agents of change in the Northeastern landscape. So keeping all these aspects, we provided that political and institutional space for youth engagement at grassroots level. I mean to very clearly say that at Panchayat level, under the leadership of the local Panchayat chairperson, where the NGOs, the youth, and civil society organizations and the governmental organizations can identify the challenges of climate change response. Maybe it is towards mitigation or it is towards adaptation. So how do they really translate? They have to prepare village level climate adaptation plans. So we have started the initiative to train our Panchayat functionaries, right from chairpersons to the elected representatives. Thereafter, this is a kind of a 3-day program intensively for targeting capacity building at grassroots level for climate action. Thereafter, they will be translating their strengths and weaknesses and identify climate change response pathways into a local adaptation plan. So this is a platform we have provided where the youth at the grassroots level can voice their concerns through the gram surface and then factor in their expertise, their aspirations, their demands for inclusive action into a very structured statutory document called a Gram Panchayat Development Plan. Why we selected this? Because GPDP is statutory and then it gets funded every year. So it's not only about aspirational statements, it's all about implementation in the field as well. So we have started this process since the state adopted the first climate change declaration 2021, and it's in the way forward. So what I would say in the context of just transition and in front of all the youth power we have is that we need skill sets. We need skill sets to do baselining in climate action. We need skill sets in identifying the incremental gains we gather on the course of climate response. And then we need skill sets in translating technologies to address the issues in the field, maybe in the land use sectors like agriculture, as simple as sprinkler irrigation, or as complex as setting up a polyhouse or a kind of a hydroponics unit to offset the impacts of climate change. So we need expertise at all different levels to respond to climate change across the sectors. And if we talk very specifically about the energy transition, which is a major transition path our country has been taking and delivering, of course, the challenges are different. As some of the speakers have mentioned previously, one size doesn't fit all. And when it comes to terrains like remote and hilly areas, the challenges become more complex and acute. So we need local solutions, and obviously solutions can be provided. Even if we pick up the example of energy supply, we spoke about transitioning from coal energy to clean energy options. But perhaps in some places, we need to package a set of energy options. Maybe in the case, if I take the case of Northeast and particularly in Arunachal Pradesh, perhaps we need to package solar, then micro, pico electric units, and sometimes even like the flow turbines. So that is kind of innovation we need at grassroots level, and that's an expectation perhaps we have to place before the technologically capable and ever aspiring and delivering youth of our country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh. I think it's very encouraging to see how, your initiative, youth at the grassroots level can, voice their opinion. So it is very important. And I think, it's, even here also we have, participants from, it's pan India. So I think it's, I'm sure, the participants would like to, get in touch with you as well. So yes, yes, thank you. I think, since we are talking about grassroots levels and how, skill sets is important, I would, ask my next question to Ms. Jain. Ms. Jain, I wanted to, basically, basically, I wanted to check in what ways does, the climate ready, involve local communities in its projects, especially in terms of, ensuring that the benefits and opportunities arising from, climate initiatives are accessible to all, aligning with the principles of a just transition. Ms. Chen, if you could, address. Neha, Ms. Neha, I think you are still muted.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Can you please unmute? Manvi, maybe you can take the next question.
Yes.
I'll have a word with you.
Yes. All right. Yeah, we will come back to Neha. I think she has some technical glitch at her end, but we would come back to her, or we can hear her, I think. Yeah, Miss. Hi, Neha. Hi, Miss Neha. You are not clear. You're not. I'm sorry, you are not audible.
Am I audible now?
Uh, I think there's a problem in the earphone, in the microphone. It's not clear. Hello.
Actually, I'm in.
Sorry, Neha, we can't hear you. Yeah, we still can't hear you.
Neha, we'll just come back to you. In the meantime, you can do a check and Manvi, you could carry on.
Yes, sure. Yes, okay. We will come back to Neha. Meanwhile, my question is to Mr. Ashraf. I mean, like I mentioned in the beginning, our proud, I mean, we take pride in this, our YCC alumni. So, having been a participant in the, Youth Climate Conclave, could you share a specific experience or, insight gained during the event that, significantly influence your perspective in addressing climate change? And, how can such platforms basically contribute to shaping innovative approaches in advocating for climate action among the youth? Over to you, Ashraf.
Right. Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Goes without saying that it's a huge pleasure being back in Terry time and again. And if not physically, it's happening digitally. So Montreal, I would like to start answering the second part of your question. At the moment, I'm based in Netherlands, and here is playing a huge role in the political chaos. That's France Timmermans. And because of YCC, I could network, share the platform with him back in 2021. So it goes without saying that how significant and important YCC has been in shaping me. And there you go. That today I'm here speaking and sharing the panel with dignitaries such as Rajesh sir and all other. Again, now I would like to come to the technical part of it. That YCC is not just a platform for me. I mean, like I could brainwash a lot there, get a lot of insights on climate perspective, and today I'm in such a stable zone that thinking about climate being non-existent factor for me today, I understand that it's impacting me. While I change my phenomena, while I change locations, I can understand how things are difficult for me to change, adapt. Now this very concepts of mitigation, adaptation is becoming very much known to me, thanks to YCC for that. And whatever you had to say about me, my work, be it in the legislature or the youth advocacy space, it has all come from YCC. Sadly, while I moved to London, uh, the irrespective of the cultural and all of that advancement, we don't give the due that I saw India and the culture around, be it YCC or adjoining programs, Terry, that used to cater to. That's not happening here. So, in fact, we don't have any module on climate differently to what I had in my university days in Delhi University. Taru ma'am had pointed out initially. Moreover, I would like to say that I'm glad that I became a part of this, a very centered group which caters to climate innovation. And this is very high, diverse climate objectivized group. There are colleagues who are working and catering to different areas of it, and we are all bouncing thoughts, retaliate and fix that how we can answer this. Again, I guess that the second question cannot be taken up due to time paucity, but that's very interesting, which talks about like how artistically and visually we can answer to the cause of climate action. So that is something that has come to me via YCC. This idea of keeping climate very representative and artistic. I assume that once we are done with the panel, none of us are going to remember whatever insights we discussed here. But whatever slides Jayanta sir had to share, we are going to definitely have a some imprint of it in our mind. So I'm very glad that YCC has created a very broadened aspect. We have had blogging competitions. Again, that gave me a gateway to YCC. I was one of the winners in some previous edition, because like climate is something that's going to hamper you irrespective of whatever zone you come from. So it becomes very important to understand that every action should contribute towards it in a larger framework. Again, I had no background. I've been repeating this in every panel I get to speak, that I was a literature student. Later on, I moved towards geopolitics, diplomacy. But I understand this, that this is hampering me. This is hampering my surrounding. And before I conclude, while we are here, simultaneously COP28 is taking place in Dubai, and something very fundamental has come up this year. That is the setup of loss and damage fund, something India had been advocating since 2021, and today we have achieved it. So with that, I conclude.
Thank you so much, Nimish. And it's very heartening for us also to see, a participant, a literature student can actually, it is not just, we are not just, the message here is that I think we are not just limited to one particular, subject. It's if there is an interest, here we are talking about role of youth. Please, I would like to mention to all the participants that, it's just, go ahead, do your part, and definitely, there are so many platforms coming up, so somewhere or the other it would help, and you could basically reflect it into action. So thank you once again, Ashraf. And coming back to Neha, Neha, if you are if you're if it is fine, we can have you on the panel.
Uh,
Maybe we can do voice check quickly. Neha, are you audible?
yes. Yeah, am I audible?
Neha,
Okay.
you'll just have to come a little closer to the laptop and the mic. We can hear you, but it's
Hello.
very slow. Yeah, this is better. Just be a little closer to the system.
You
Really sorry about this because I am in an unstable network. I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, Neha, but I think could you come a little more closer actually, because there is some problem I think in the there might be a lack of network issue, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm audible now.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, sure. Uh, okay, I'm really sorry about this, right? Please repeat your question. I would be more than happy to go forward.
All right. Should I repeat the question?
Yes, please. Thank
Yes,
you.
basically, we wanted to know that, in what ways these does, Climate Ready involve local communities in its projects, especially in terms of, ensuring that benefits and opportunities arising from, climate initiatives are accessible to all, aligning with the principles of a just transition.
Absolutely. And thank you for this very important question. I am currently in Uttarakhand, where World Congress on Disaster Management just concluded, and we also have COP that has just started. So I feel it is a very important opportunity for me to showcase the role of youth, and especially at the grassroots. So at Climate Ready, currently I am leading the project, and it stands for Climate Representation, Education and Action with Delhi Youth, wherein we train school students in government schools of Delhi to become environmental champions and a social conscious body of leaders, through immersive programs like eco club sessions, boot camps, um, field exposures, leadership training, and much more, which I would really like to elaborate upon, because when we speak about involving local communities in the projects and ensure justice and equity at the same time, it is very important to understand that a lot of it trickles from the school times. The formative years really are the foundational years where we actually learn these practices. And whenever we are aiming for change, it is not only about a superficial, but it is important to strive for behavioral change. So that is what we try to do at Climate Ready. Our project is based on 4 pillars based on which we involve the local communities. One, it's climate education, and there's uh, are exposed to. When we talk about holistic and intersectional localization in the very
Neha,
context,
I am really
these
sorry to intrude. We're just losing all your valuable points. We cannot hear you. May I please request you to put some keywords in the chat box, and we can take it again after the next speaker.
yes, sure, that would be nice. Thank you so much, and I'm extremely sorry once again.
Thank you, Neha. Yes, please, we have, questions. We have already seen Nimish, addressing the questions that was previously, put by the participants. So, one last question, basically not a question, but any, any concluding statement that you would like to this, I'm asking the panelist here, Mr. Rajesh or Mr. Ashraf, any concluding statement, one message that you would like to give to youth.
Thank you so much. I guess the climate action is like an individual responsibility as well. So let's look around us and see what we can do and respond to that first, then escalate to the community level around, because youth have tremendous power for influencing peer groups, elders, and community leaders as well, politically, otherwise also. So please use this powerful lever with you and drive this action so that we all reach the objective we have set for the all globe in terms of climate response. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. Youth is what is the need of the hour. Youth, taking part in climate action, uh, like we have mentioned, do your bit, and there would be directions, right from grassroots level to national level, regional level. So yes, anything from Mr. Ashraf? Any concluding statement?
Again, I would like to just reiterate whatever I had said, but in a summary, that I discussed that climate change is something that, irrespective of your participation in it or not, you are going to be affected by it. And considering the scenario, the threat posed is just immense. Nobody can help it. We cannot wait for the leaders or any senior bureaucrats, whosoever, think times to act. It well, definitely is upon us. I can just remember that editions of summits and events are happening, but one voice that resonates with quality as well as strength is Greta Thunberg's voice. I don't want to get into the depth of it, but whatever she said, the message has gone across real loud. So don't wait for anyone. Take the lead and go ahead. Who knows, one can be the next Greta Thunberg.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Miss Neha. If you could, we can have your, views here in the chat box itself. And if you have any questions for Miss Neha, if the audience have any questions for Miss Neha, please put your questions in the chat box here, because we are also, almost we are coming to the end of the boot camp, and so without any further delay, I would now to deliver the closing remarks and the way forward. I request Ms. Johanna Manson Tellers. She's attaché at the Climate, Energy and Environment at the delegation of the European Union to India and Bhutan to kindly deliver the closing remarks and the way forward. Over to you, Ms. Johanna.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, Monmi, for this introduction. So first of all, I would like to thank all of our panelists here today for their valuable contributions, and I really thought it was very interesting to listen to you. And I think we have all learned a lot from these exchange of viewpoints on how to achieve a just energy transition here in India, and of course the crucial role of youth in this transition. So as Monmi mentioned at the beginning of the event, I would simply like to highlight that this event organized by Terry is part of the EU Green Diplomacy Weeks, which is an annual global campaign launched by the European Union and its member states in 2019 to foster cooperation on climate change and inspire real and concrete actions. So in late 2022, the EU launched the Global Gateway Strategy, a new global strategy to build resilient connections with the world, with sustainable connectivity and green transitions as its main two pillars. So in this context, the Green Diplomacy Weeks of 2023 also served as an opportunity to continue to build the momentum for this new global strategy. So a series of events have been organized by the EU and member states in line with the Green Diplomacy Weeks all over the world. So just to give you a couple of examples of some other initiatives taken by our member states here in India this year. So France, for example, organized a workshop on hydropower earlier in October, as well as some climate fresks workshops in different universities in Delhi to raise the awareness of youth around climate change and energy transition. Germany organized a conference on forecasting monsoon onset and withdrawal in India and how to build climate change resilience. The Embassy of the Netherlands organized a cycling event in Delhi to promote active mobility, and a lot of youth participated. And finally, the Swedish Embassy organized several conferences in October in line with the Mining Day and the Semiconductor Day. So yes, the EU Green Diplomacy Weeks have served as a platform for forging partnerships, fostering dialogue and charting pathways towards a future where environmental improvement goes hand in hand with socioeconomic progress. So I hope that the opinions expressed during this event and the knowledge that you gained will be useful to you and will have inspired you to join us in this collective pursuit of a sustainable, equitable, and resilient future for all. Thank you to each participant and speaker for your contributions, and to Terry for organizing this event. So let's keep in touch, and I hope to see many of you at the 5th edition of the YCC. I saw that many of you had this question in the chat related to when and where the YCC will take place, so I will let Terry maybe clarify this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Johanna. Thank you for talking about the the EU Green Diplomacy Week. Yes, and of course, thank you to all the speakers, and thank you EU once again, for always supporting us and leading in this wonderful initiative in this 4 successful implementations editions of the YCC, and we as we have mentioned already, it's a run up to the 5th edition of the YCC, and we eagerly we are also waiting as much as the audience are waiting to basically be a part of the YCC 5th edition. And yes, coming to the questions, the YCC will be so we have major events coming up. Firstly, we have WSDS event, which is in the 2nd week of Feb. Then we have the YCC. We are hopefully planning to launch.
Only what we will do is we have the details of the youth. So the next steps and all we will be communicating to them, and of course post this boot camp, we will be in touch with all the participants through email. So let's get back to them with formal dates once these are decided.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And thank you to all these speakers. And of course, thank you to all the participants. You have been a great audience. Thank you for patiently listening to us. And we will hope to see you definitely for the 5th edition of the YCC. Thank you once again. We have your email IDs now, and we will get back to you soon.
All of you know how to get in touch with Monmi. So she's been the pillar of support for the entire program. Please write to her and we'll be in touch with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.